Hello. How is everybody going tonight? Just jumping on for a live stream. Pretty excited for tonight as we have a guest coming on tonight. Me and this fella have similar paths. He's studying law, like myself, after, we've both been to jail. So we connected through our lived experience networks. Pretty excited to have him on. Just going to go live on our Facebook page as well. Oh, here he is. Just waiting for him to jump on. Just coming through, I think. Hey, brother.
Hey, brother, how are you?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Mate, not too bad, not too bad.
Thanks for jumping on tonight.
Man, it's good to finally catch up and do this, man. I apologise to everyone, anyone that's watching, because we've been trying to do this for a couple of weeks, and I got sick as. Got stuck in New South Wales for 3 weeks. I was only there for a week and got real sick and had to put it off, and so now we're doing it.
Yeah, we're here. So you got a bit crook, did you?
Man, yeah, and look, it was just the flu, but it's the man flu, Man, I tell you what, actually, what really happened is I ended up going to hospital at one point because I'm a couple of weeks in and I was just bedridden. I was like, look, I'm pretty bad, right? And so I went in there, they did a bunch of blood tests and stuff, and you know what they come back with? They said, man, you're overdosing on Panadol. And I was like, that's funny because I hadn't taken any Panadol, right?
Yeah.
And they said, oh, you've been taking cold and flu. And I said, yeah. And they said, oh, there's Panadol in cold and flu. And you're only meant to take it 3-4 times a day. Man, every 4 hours I was pumping it. So, I was pumping a bit. Man, they were more worried about that. They like hooked me up to a drip, kept me all there all day. And they're like, we'll do another blood test tonight to make sure, your liver's clear of Panadol, man. So that stuff is not good for you. People use it all the time. I'm not a huge fan of Panadol, but yeah, be careful. You gotta watch that stuff.
Yeah, right. Shit. Yeah. That's the cold and flus, did you say?
Yeah,
it has Panadol in it.
Yeah. So it used to just be the pseudo, right?
Yep.
And then guys were cooking it up.
Yep.
Guys I know, used to spend a lot of time cooking it up. But so they put Panadol in it to make it harder.
Yeah.
And so that, to make people feel sick.
Yeah.
I don't know why they do that, but anyway, so it's got Panadol in it. So for anyone watching, if you get the flu, it's going around, stay off the cold and flus and the Panadol, that's for sure.
Man, it's getting around too. I swear so many people in my network are sick or just have been sick. My dad's been sick.
Yeah.
I was just speaking to a friend literally before this call. She's sick. Yeah, it's not good. Knocking people around.
Good.
And the cold weather too, because whereabouts are you based?
Man, I'm up in Cairns, where it's nice and hot usually all the time. We've got a bit of a rain happening at the moment, but man, so I went down. I'm from New South Wales, right? So I went down to help my brother move house for a week. Ended up there for 3. I got so sick I couldn't fly home, and it was freezing. Like it was so terrible, like the weather. And I just thought, I think it was a shock to my system because I'm so used to the heat now. Like I've been here for fucking 6-7 years. So I was like, just really hit me. And I just thought, I don't know how you guys live and down here. Like, it's like Eskimos.
Yeah. Crazy, huh?
Yeah, man. What about you? Are you back home now?
Yeah. So I had my law ball on Saturday, so I flew into Sydney on Friday.
Yeah.
I think that's when I gave you a call to see where you're at, and I think you just got home. Yeah. and had my university law ball Saturday night.
Yes, sweet.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Different bunch of people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually randomly I follow, and some people follow me that went there, and I said to one of the girls, I said, "Oh, you must know like my friend Jacob," and she was like, "Yeah, yeah." So we've got some similar followers, and yeah, people you went
I
out
think
with.
it's yeah. I think it's pretty cool that we both where we've come from to study in law now. So when I actually, how I heard about you was I went and met Debbie Kilroy from Sisters Inside, and she's like, "I was just in Cairns. Do you know this guy?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, how don't I know him? Like he's been to jail. He's studying law." I was so surprised I didn't know who you were. So, yeah, I was pretty happy to find out there's more of us. Yeah.
And there is, and you know what? How I met Deb was basically, again, being a young law student that has a history of being incarcerated, you know, committing crimes, obviously, and we all want to become lawyers, you know, and change our lives and change the lives of others.
Yeah.
We all contact Deb because for anyone watching that doesn't know, Deb really set that precedent. I mean, she was the first, I think not even just female, I think she was just the first lawyer admitted that had serious convictions and spent 6 years in jail. So, you know, someone told me, "Oh, if you're having, you know, troubles with admission, you know, you should call Deb." And I did. I'd reached out and sent her a message or something like that. And she said, "Hey, I'm actually in Cairns next week. Do you want to catch up?" We did, had some drinks, and we've caught up a lot now. I've actually got a meeting with her again tomorrow because where I am, they're building a new youth detention centre. And obviously, you know, Deb's really outspoken and really against that stuff. And so am I. So actually, you'd know about that because you put together a video for me probably a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Support. It looks like it's going ahead, man, and we're just trying to stop it because we know, because we've got that lived experience, we know that it's not good. There's other things that we're doing. So, man, it is cool to see so many people like myself and you that are out now in the community that are trying to do good and say, hey, we can do things better.
Yeah, it's important. People with lived experience. One of my lived experience network, his name's Richard Booking, and he has been to jail. He got out of jail and turned his life around studying when he started studying before. I think it might have been when he got out. But yeah, he finished his Bachelor of Laws and he's getting admitted on Monday, bro. So I'm going down there to support him. Yeah,
and that is cool. And you know, that's cool to see.
Yeah.
And I don't know how far into your studies you are, or like, I mean, you just went to a law ball, so you're sort of in that network. And so I don't know if you've had any pushback. I mean, I've had a little bit of it, but for the most part, you know, I'm a member of all the law societies and stuff as well, and go to a lot of events. And a lot of them, especially the magistrates and judges and the old guard, man, they've been so welcoming. And I say, I'm covered in tats, man, but I'm like, yeah, look, I'm just about to graduate and I've got a history. And they're so impressed by that. You know, I last week, I was really, really fortunate last week. I got to meet Robert Fitzgerald, who was on the Royal Commission into Child Institutional Abuse for 5 years. And he was a wealth of knowledge. And this guy's, he's Commissioner of Disability or something now, still does a lot of great work, right? And this is someone he's old. I'd say he's 60, something like that. And, you know, I went up to him just like this criminal-looking guy and said, look, when the Royal Commission was coming around, I was in prison at the time, you know, and I said, and it was just so great to talk to him. And he just said, I said, I'm, you know, studying to be a lawyer now. And he said, oh, you're going to be great. You're going to help so many people. And I was like, oh, he didn't even know me. But he already knew that, man, if you've got that experience and you know how things work, you're going to be a really good advocate for your clients. And man, he's right.
Yeah, 100%, brother. Yeah. So how far into your studies are you? And where are you studying?
Mate, I'm at CQU University online. And I've actually finished all my law subjects. I'm just doing psych subjects at the moment. So I did a double. So I'm in my last semester. I'm doing, actually, interestingly enough, one of my last subjects I'm doing now in the psychology is forensic psychology.
Okay.
And we have a group assessment at the moment. And I met with the group last night, and we're watching this YouTube video of a lady that's just killed two people, basically. And it's her interview with police. And
Yeah.
we're doing sort of a mental health assessment on her. And that's our assessment as a group. And it's so interesting. There was about 6 of us in the group. It's so interesting how people think differently about things. And I think I sort of had a bit more insight because I've been through that system.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, a couple of the other students were really like very clinical and, you know, they were talking about assessing basically her mental health to get released back into society. And I'm thinking, well, hang on a second. She's just killed 2 people, right? Like, I don't think it's going to be released soon. It's probably to assess. It's going to cope in prison. Is she a risk to other prisoners? Is she a risk to other staff? And, you know, that's just little things, maybe, for example, that, you know, people like me and you now, we would pick that up because we've been through that system. So we know, you know, sort of have that insight.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't. I wish I didn't have that insight. You know, I wish I never went to prison. I wish I never went down that path. But, man, it happens. And all you've got to do, I think, is just, we don't always choose where we're going, especially as kids too, when things happen when you're a kid. And you don't choose that. But I think it's really powerful to just understand that at any time, you know, you can snap out of that. You can choose a different path. And I think that's why lived experience now, I think, is great. People have it in different spaces, you know, mental health space. We're seeing it in the prison reform stuff now as well. And people getting taken really seriously, man.
Yeah.
You know, there's guys that I follow that have been to prison that, like, they're speaking to rooms of thousands of people and getting paid to do it, you know.
Yeah.
So that'd be nice one day as well, but we'll see. Yes.
Yeah. Mate, I suppose I don't know your full criminal history, and you don't have to tell me what it is, but where did you go to jail?
Yeah.
Where did you do your stuff?
So my criminal history really, it's fuck all, really, in all honesty. I've said that to the wrong people before, and you know, people that haven't been don't have a history. They think, oh, well, there's a few pages there, like that's pretty long, and I'll see, you know, I got a bad rap here a couple of years ago. I got done for being a public nuisance, and, like, you know, people were like, oh my God, you're a public nuisance.
Yeah.
And I do understand that I'm in this professional space now, but I'm like, a public nuisance is nothing, you know. And I know that I'm minimizing and all of that stuff, so I apologize. But, you know, for guys like us that have been to prison and then, you know, have done stuff, I mean, I've done a lot of serious stuff.
Yeah.
That is nothing, you know. It's a fine. Don't worry about it. But I go way back to, like, youth stuff, getting in trouble, obviously. And I love challenging police. It's a really misdemeanor stuff, but I was getting locked up. We don't really call it a watch house. Well, we don't have watch houses in New South Wales. So I started out, obviously I'm from Blacktown, grew up in Blacktown. You get arrested, you sit in, we call it the fish tanks or the fish bowls, you know, the perspex cells where the soldier. And then if you're not getting bail, they'll call corrective services up. And corrective services then come and grab you, and they'll take you to usually Penrith cells. I've been to Amber Laurel cells as well, which is at Emu Plains.
Yeah.
So you're actually then going into corrective services custody. It's not police. Whereas in Queensland, when I've been locked up, you know, you go to a watch house and it's a police officer that's looking at. It's not a huge difference, but it is, you know, it's a little bit different. But, you know, so I'm going back to when I was a young kid. And then for the most part, I stayed out of trouble. I ended up having in my early 20s. I got married really young, had a lot of issues in that marriage. Obviously substance abuse issues, mental health issues. And I was drinking and stuff and really out of control. the first time I went to prison was for 6 months. That was sentenced, and that was for evading police, drink driving, resisting arrest, obstruct police. There's 11 charges, and really all on their own, they're all nothing as well, you know.
Sounds like a big night on the source.
Mate, yeah. The funny thing is I had a big night, and I drove to the police station.
Yeah.
Report, because I was on bail, right? Bail
Yeah.
reporting. And what's funny about this is I think I've got a poor cop in a bit of trouble for this, but I've rocked up at 6:45 and I'm not meant to report till 7. And I'm like, so you want me to come back? And he's like, oh, look, I'll fudge it. So he put me in there at 7 a.m. reporting, right?
Yeah.
Next thing, I've left the police station. I'm driving, cops up behind me. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I stopped. I reversed 100 meters. So that's where the evade police comes from.
Yeah.
I'm smashed. I've been drinking all night, right? Now, by the time this is happening, it's at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
I got out of the car, I ran, I bailed. I got close enough to my house that, I jumped a couple of fences, so I got the trespassing for that.
Yeah.
Had a quick shower, went to bed, pretended I was asleep in bed, nothing happened. Cops knock on the door half an hour later. I don't know if they had dogs. I don't know how they found me. They found me, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the registration.
Yeah.
They've got a registered address. And I'm like pretending to wake up, and there's these cops all standing around me, and they're like, anyway, they grabbed me, and I was denying, and I was like, oh, it wasn't me. And then I said, I thought I had the perfect alibi. I said, couldn't have been me. I was at the police station at 7 a.m. reporting. They're like, no, you weren't, mate. You're out there. We saw it was you. You're running away from police. I said, no, go check the record book.
Yeah.
And they did. So then they come back and they're like, oh, fuck, we are in the shit. So then I had to get this cop to write an affidavit to say he fudged the records, and they were trying to use that to convict me.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. But at the same time, so I went to prison for that stuff. I was in there on remand. Now, I was in the watch house for 2 weeks. While that was happening, a current affair did a big story on me, right? And it wasn't good. And so because of that, I went straight into protection. I was a high profile prisoner or something. I was pretty suicidal and pretty messed up anyway at the time.
Yeah.
So, I was trying to kill myself and stuff, basically, and that in the watch house, and I'd been in and out of hospital. So it took a while for them. I'd say probably at least a month before they even got me into protection. And I was there for 4 days. And then it was guards called me up and said, hey, mate, you got to go to the laundry. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm on crutches, man. I got a broken leg. I'm on crutches. Yeah, the old you got to go to the laundry trick. And I was like, oh, okay. It seemed odd.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, it's coming from the guards, so it must be a thing.
Yeah.
So I went into the laundry. There's a couple of guys in there, and they're just looking at me, and I was like, hey, I just got told to come to the laundry. And they're just looking at me blank, not saying anything. And I'm like, this is really awkward. I'm like, do you guys know what it's about? And they're like, no one's saying anything to me. And I'm like, this is fucking weird. So I turn around, and I'm on my, crutches. I turn around. This other guy just comes in, smacks me. I'm on the floor. They're jumping all over me, did that. And then I was off to hospital. Re-broke my leg, fractured my arm, wrist, things like that. So it was pretty bad. And then, then I was in a wheelchair for a while, and they kept me in solitary confinement for a couple of months before they could ship me to Townsville. And then I went to Townsville, man, same deal. They put me in a cell with a rapist who, sexually assaulted me with a prison knife. He was in there for manslaughter, real bad guy. So this all happened in the space of 6 months. And I'm in there for fun. So all this stuff, the media, these allegations in the media, I wasn't charged or convicted with anything, right? But it was still there. So, you go into prison, anyone that's like that, that's been on the news, you go in there with that reputation, and you can't shake it. Doesn't matter. You change jails. I spent a lot of time in solitary confinement, which is really, we call it the detention unit in Queensland. Every prison's got one. It's the jail within a jail.
So
Usually
you,
it's for guys fucking up. Yeah, having a fight or something like that. But they also put you there if they've got nowhere else for you. And so I spent a lot of time in there. And there's a lot of other guys in there that they're getting ready to, we call it tipping them, so tipping them to another jail. And it was guys, and a lot of the time it's guys that have like either dobbed on somebody, right? Dobbed them or something like that. And they go, look, we can't keep you in this jail anymore, send you to another one. Man, you would think that maybe is a layer of protection, but as you know, jails are so big, and guys like us that are in and out of jail, we go to different jails, people talk. So life, in somewhere for a week or two, and you think, hey, things are good. And then someone walks in and goes, hang on a second, that's that guy that did this at that other jail, or my mate or something, and it's all over. So anyway, that's probably going down a rabbit hole there with that stuff. But spent a lot of time with guys, in there that is similar circumstances and just going from one jail to the next. And I was lucky I was only in there for 6 months, but it was a real traumatic time for me. I got out. I was out for, I think, about 8 months. I went back again for charges that were dropped. So I did another 6 months. Police said, look, we've got no evidence, basically offered no evidence, and I was released.
Yeah.
I think I did another 8 months out. And then I did 2 months, man. So I haven't done a lot of jail. I've done, 16 months or something.
Yeah.
The last time I was in jail, I really had some guys take me under their wing, bikies.
Yeah.
So I started doing stuff with them when I got out. But, I can't really talk too much about it because I've been raided a couple of times by police. But, again, no charges or convictions. So, like, my criminal history really on paper is not bad. There's not a lot there. Considering most people, I've seen guys that have quite a long history. So I've been pretty lucky and got away with a few things. But yeah, still spent some time in prison. And, I even get it now, especially on TikTok, a lot of keyboard warriors on TikTok.
Yeah. I think plenty.
Mate, plenty. And even guys, and they've done 10 years jail, and stuff, and they're thinking, well, this bloke, who are you to talk about prison? You don't have that right. But, I've still been there. When I was in New South Wales, I did a couple of months, like when I was younger. So obviously, RRC, Silverwater, that's where you first go. A few pods in there. Ended up getting shipped back to Cessnock. There's an old Cessnock and a new Cessnock. Lived in the new Cessnock for a while, and that was pretty comfy. And then
don't they have
just the night
iPads and all that there?
What's that? Nah, well, not back then. So I'm going back to, mate, close to 10 years now.
Okay.
I've got friends that are in now, and they've got the iPads. They've come in the last year or two in a lot of the prisons. I've got a mate now he's down in New South Wales. I think he's at Park Lee, and he said they order their food from their iPad, and I'm like, what are you talking about? What is this hotel like? What? You've done a little bit of time, right?
Yeah.
And what? People always complain about the food. What do you think? What do you think about the food?
I know that the food is shit in New South Wales just because Dad done 16 and a half years prison down there, and I've got a lot of mates who done jail down there. But I was in Queensland. Yeah. So the first time I went to jail, it was pretty average. But you could trick it up, and as you do, you might make noodles and fucking trick it right up. Put all the sauces in it, add things into it. I remember after Gorry R&R, they used to have fish Fridays. So every Friday, they would get a piece of fish, and you could also, you got your own sort of electric cooker, like, you know, the
Oh, wow.
electric ones, and you could
Yep.
cook eggs and things like that. But then the second time I went back, they put it all into packet food. So
Yeah.
sort of like how
Yeah.
New South Wales has all that packet shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of it was pretty average, to be
Yeah.
honest. But I just always used to live on the tunas. I was lucky. I had good family support.
Yeah.
I had, when I was in jail, I was in a crew, so they looked after me.
Yeah.
So plenty of tunas, plenty of milk powder.
Man, and it's the difference between, you know, it's those little things that are difference between having a real hard time and not a great time. And if you've got a group or some guys that you know that can take you under their wing, I mean, that's great. Obviously, Queensland's food was better. I do have to say. I don't mind the eyes.
Yeah.
So we get hot dogs in Queensland every Thursday, and in New South Wales you had the pies one week and the spinach and ricotta rolls, which I wasn't a fan of the alternate week. But yeah, man, as you know, as you were saying, you get your tunas and get whatever you can to spice things up and make it nicer.
Yeah. Did you ever use to make jail slices?
Jail slices? Nah.
No. Yeah.
No, what's that?
So you can get like the condensed milk and you put it inside of your jug and boil it up.
Yep.
And then you'd squeeze it all out and then put layers of chocolate or like raspberries and shit. So you come out with like a big slice. Yeah. End up being
nice.
expensive.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Because you got to buy all that stuff, you know, on your buy-ups.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Deb. How are you?
Hey, Deb.
Deb's saying hello. We're just talking about, you know, the good old days. They weren't really good, to be honest. For anyone listening and watching, they're not that great, and that's why we're trying to do something about it, you know?
Yeah.
What's your plan, man? Are you want to go into criminal law and go down that path?
So when I first started out, just like going back because, you know, my dad, he served a 16-and-a-half-year prison sentence. So from the ages of 10 years old, I was having jail visits, jail phone calls. My mates were in jail. Then I was in jail. So from a young age, I seen how corrections treated myself, my family, other people's families, run sniffer dogs over girls' crutches, strip searching the boys' girls before visits. You know, when I was in jail, I had the police rock up to my house. The police took my dad away to serve a 16-and-a-half-year prison sentence. So, and while I was in jail as well, I had so many shit lawyers, bro. Like fucking so many shit lawyers. Stitch my dad up, stitch my mates up, stitch me up. So I just always had a bad taste in my mouth. So I wanted to be able to, I still do want to be able to give guys access to justice. But yeah, before I started, changing my mind, I wanted to do criminal law, but then now we've been doing the institutional abuse. You know, I'm a survivor of institutional abuse. I went through Brisbane Boys Yard and I suffered abuse at the hands of a corrections officer there. Yeah. And I've just seen so many sad stories, so many of the boys that have been through what I've been through, my dad's been through, what you've been through. And it just fucks people's whole lives, bro. And I feel like I want to be able to help people to tell their story and give them justice that way. Although I still believe, you know, if you get a shit lawyer and you get stitched up by the coppers, you know, everyone deserves access to justice. But I feel like I love helping people to, you know, get. Well, we can never get back what the perpetrator's taken away. But it gives, you know, the guys a bit of a start when they get out of jail, because when you get out of jail, bro, you get to kick up the arse in the dog check if you're lucky, you know. And if you don't have any friends and family, well, fucking, you've got nothing. And so if the guys at least have a bit of a head start when they get out, you know, it gives them a bit better, a way to make it, I suppose.
Man, of course. I mean, I put up a post the other day about guys up here at the jail that's close to me, and you know, if they get dropped off late and they miss the last bus to town, there's no Centrelink. They got nothing, literally, and they're just out there walking around. And, you know, we expect them not to want to commit offences or anything again. And it's like, well, you know, the system has failed a lot of people and let a lot of people down. There's a lot of people in it that don't need to be in it, and probably wouldn't be in it if, you know, at some point someone just said, hey, this is a bit silly. I mean, why are we doing this to this bloke, you know? I'm the same, man. I thought when I started law, I thought, look, I'm going to get, you start doing criminal law. And the more and more I'm going, I mean, I'm making submissions and speaking to Parliament, and I'm running for council, you know, trying to maybe get that platform where I can change things from the inside, and try and make that difference, you know, with the legislation and the laws and things like that. So the advocacy, which goes hand in hand with being a lawyer, you know, even just having that and being admitted, having that credibility behind me. I mean, I think that'll be a good thing as well. But I think I'll still probably do criminal law. But I think, you know, anything that happens to someone, if they're abused by corrective services, or, you know, your wrongful actions, or, you know, the police officers beat somebody up, that sort of civil rights, human rights sort of stuff. I'd love to do that stuff. And not just because it makes me feel good because I'm helping someone, but also because of that lived experience, man. I've been pushed around and stuff like that. And, you know, I don't mind, you know, getting one up on, you know, the police or the government, because, you know, they need to be held to account, man. And I, you know, so I sort of, I got to admit, you know, that'd feel good, you know, to win a case like that, you know, either for myself or for someone else. Like, that would feel good, man, because you like really putting them in their place and saying, yeah, you know, you need to make some changes here. And I think it's only until we all sort of gang up.
Yeah.
All us guys who've lived experience and get that going, that they'll be like, hey, we're going to take notice here. These guys, I think for the most part, you know, when I spoke to Robert Fitzgerald, I mean, he was saying, like, you know, obviously a lot of child abuse, children on average, it takes them 22 years to speak about, right? And you know, that's for many reasons. But even I started talking to him about being in custody and being there in 2017 when the Royal Commission was going around. And I said, look, I remember guys getting on the phone in the prison yard, and other guys in the yard being like, look, Tellen's telling, what are you doing on the phone? They're going, oh, it's the Royal Commission, it's this, it's that. And these are other inmates going, nah, mate, get off the phone, right? And I think I was still new in those days, but you're surviving in that world where, you know, yeah, telling is telling. And a lot of these guys, so the guys like the prison officers, for a start, and the police, they get away with a lot because, you know, especially years ago, there wasn't cameras, there wasn't CCTV. Even now, man, I've made a lot of applications for, you know, a lot of footage that's gone missing or wasn't filming, or you're out of time and they've deleted the footage and things like that. And I think, man, that's really got to change. One of the submissions I made a couple of months ago, and I thought, look, there's probably a lot of boys in prison that aren't going to like me for this one, but they were looking at proposing more surveillance in prisons and suggesting the possibility of body-worn cameras. And I told them a couple of stories about how guards come into my cell and beat me up. And I thought, you know what? If they were wearing body-worn cameras and, you know, had to, maybe then there would be some of that evidence there to say, hey, this did happen to me. You know, because basically they come back and said, look, there's no footage, there's nothing. That's it. No, and so I really thought, you know, that would be good. Some more, you know, but I know there's probably guys in there that don't want any more surveillance. But sorry, guys. I just think it's a good thing to keep those people held to account, man. Like, you know, and for the most part, we need to change narratives too. Like, we got a big job ahead of us, man, the next 20, 30 years. Like, we got a lot of work to do to change things, because for the most part, people think, well, they're criminals, who cares, you know? And one of the things that I keep telling people through sharing my stories, you know, if you want to treat people like dogs, you know, they're going to act like it, you know, and if you want to keep locking people up and, you know, abusing them and assaulting them, and especially the kids as well, they're going to get out, they're going to be angry, right? They're going to be more violent. And, you know, they're going to get out and they're going to be, you know, worse criminals. So it doesn't work to support their narrative easy as well. You know what I mean? Like, prison doesn't reduce crime. You know, I think it increases it. So we need to change that whole framework and go, hey, what's happening is not not right. I can see Deb there. They do wear body-worn cameras and they do that too. They're good at it, man. I've tried a couple of times. I've gone through to the Triple C, Crime and Misconduct Commission as well, and they've got no teeth and no balls. I remember once there was this, I had a broken leg, right, and I'm in medical unit, and this officer come in, and he had a rolled up towel, and he's smacking me on my broken leg. Can't wait to get you in the unit. So I reported it when I got out. So at the time I reported it, I'd done 6 months. They've gone, oh, we don't hold the footage that long, so there's no footage.
Yeah.
What's the officer's name? I said, look, the other officers were calling him Roscoe, so he must have been either something last name Ross, or his name was Ross something, right? Go look. I don't know all the officers' name. Go look at the roster and see who was on. They come back to me. They sent me this long letter and said, on that day and time, there was nobody on the roster by the name Roscoe. And I'm like, idiots. His name wasn't Roscoe. Like, obviously that was a nickname, it's something Ross, but it wasn't enough. And I just thought, man, this is just shit. And then I don't even bother now, but, man, I could talk for hours, man. I really want to make some changes and do some bloody good, Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sad, bro. Like, screws, coppers, they have their own set of rules, brother. Like, we help guys out in the prison systems every single day, and depending on which corrections officer we speak to speak to our clients, they have a different set of rules, brother. There should be one rule, There's not fucking, I had a fight with my missus last night, so I'll just take it out on everyone. Or, it's just fucking, I just grew up with it. I've seen it. Every day we have to deal with it.
There's good and bad in everyone. But, if you're a bad person doing a bad thing out on the street, you're probably going to get picked up by police, right? But when there's bad police officers and there's bad corrective services officers, they don't get picked up. They get away with it. And I think it's worse because they've got so much more power. Like, they can do a lot more to you than, most of us can do on the streets. So it's something that needs to change, man. I'm passionate about that.
Yeah. Have you tried to get back into the prisons to talk to people or anything like that? Like, not as a friends and family visit or as a professional, not as an advocate.
I did get asked to visit some of the youth justice centres down in Brisbane.
Oh yeah.
And I did that a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
I ended up cancelling my trip. So I think I was going to come down. We were going to hang out as well. I was going to do a big trip.
Yeah.
I cancelled that. I had a current affair do another big story on me, and I thought it was going to be worse than it was. I mean, it was bad, but man, I cancelled my trip, and I'm really disappointed about that because that would have been really good. I mean, that was youth centres, so that would have been great to see, young kids that are on detention, and I'd love to share my story with them and say, hey, I was here doing the same stuff, and now I'm doing all this other stuff, like there's, give them a bit of hope and inspiration and stuff like that. But also, I just thought it would be great to get in there and really, see what's happening in there. What have they got going on now? What supports and things have they got? Like to get into a prison and get a really good idea of what's happening, I think would be really good, especially for the advocacy work that I want to keep doing. I had suspicions that it might have been a little bit of a sell, hey, look at how good these places are now. We've got really nice programs and things like that, which, I don't know, until I go there and see it with my own eyes. I mean, I don't believe it. I mean, look at how much we hear now that places are understaffed. And I know, man, I know what it's like. I go to these law society meetings and I'm talking with magistrates and they're talking about how, actually, I asked a magistrate, I said, how do you feel sentencing someone and you've got their life story in 30 seconds, right? Like, you don't know who they are and you're sitting up there on the bench and you've got to go drop the hammer and sentence someone, right? And they said, oh, well, look, if they've got a good lawyer, key word there, if they've got a good lawyer, their lawyer will tell me that kind of stuff. And I thought, yeah, but like, you're just like, what about, you know, like, how do you feel about that morally, sending someone to prison? And they said, look, it's great. There's programs up there and there's courses and they got mental health and psychology. And I was like, oh my God, when's the last time you visited a prison? And I was like, I don't know if they do. It should be compulsory.
Yeah.
They should have to go every couple of months. Because I go, you know, when I went to prison, like, I was suicidal. And if I asked for help and wanted to see a counsellor or a psych, they'd come down and do an assessment. It was a risk assessment. Is this guy going to, you know, self-harm today? If so, or there's a likelihood, we're just going to padded cell for a couple of days until he, you know, snaps out of it. There was no, hey, let's maybe do some therapy or sit down or maybe tell me your problems or just have someone to talk to that isn't another prisoner. And you soon give up. And, you know, when I was remanded, there wasn't a lot of programs and courses and lawyers too, man, lawyers and magistrates and a lot of people in the system that I've met think that there's these wonderful things happening in prisons. And it doesn't exist. I mean, I don't know where they read it, but it's just not true. It's just, it couldn't be further from the truth. You know, and I'd love to just get a bus and pick them all up and take them up. We should do a law ball event in a prison. You know, let's do that. Let's do a law ball and, you know, put your tuxedo on and take all the magistrates and, you know, judges up there and, you know, really show them the reality of what they're doing and where they're putting people. You know, because I know for me, man, I would just maybe it's because I've been there and know how bad it is, but I could never sentence someone to prison. You know, I think about my legal career and I think, oh, how wonderful it might be one day in 30 years to be asked to be a magistrate or a judge. Like, it's an honor, right? It's a great thing in your legal career. But I'd just be like, well, I wouldn't be sentencing anyone to prison. So, you know, they're probably never going to pick me. But, you know, I have had that thought before. Just had a laugh to myself.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So when was the last time you got locked up?
So the last time I think I was released was early, like a February, March 2018, I think.
Yeah.
So about 5, well, just over 5 years. Yeah. Man, so going strong. It's good.
Yeah.
But it's hard. You know, like I had a hard 6 to 12 months afterwards, you know, and people ask me all the time, like, how did you change? Or, and it's just a series of steps. It doesn't happen overnight. I think everyone, you know, we all want that easy fix. We, you know, I wish I could give it to people. I wish I could say, here you go, eat this and you'll be fine. But, the reality of it is that's not how it is. And, you know, and it's a lot of work, man. I don't know how long, like, you've been out, but you probably agree. Like, it's a long, people look at where you are now and think, oh, I just started following this Jacob guy, he's doing this great stuff and it looks great and it's great. But people don't see that, hey, that was a journey and a path that you took to get there. And, you know, and it's incredible, but people don't sort of see the behind the scenes and the backstory. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good question, bro. That was one of the ugliest times in my life, brother. I lost my whole friend circle when I stepped away from that life. Because I was used to be like in a bikie gang and like all my friends were like crims, drug dealers, bikies, just fucking people from jail. And when I stepped away, I had to fully step away because my father was on non association and we're in the same gang and he was getting out of jail. So the best case scenario for my dad would have been I would have not been able to see him. Worst case scenario was I would put him back in jail because my plan was to lie and say that I was out of the gang that I was in. So parole thought about it and said, hey, if he does that, this is the best case, worst case. So I stepped away, bro, and I was taking drugs. I was on alcohol. I had no friends.
Yeah.
I still had a couple of friends that I grew up with, but I pushed them all away because I thought all the other stuff was more important, like going to parties or. So man, that that transition was like so sad and lonely.
And you're not wrong.
Yeah.
And that's a hard choice, man. And no one wants to say it, but like I'll say it. I'm against all those spiky laws,
Yeah.
you know. And I just think, and for your example right then was, you know, it really sums up why I'm against that stuff. You know, because I got a lot of friends that I can't talk to, or they can't talk to each other. You had a brother getting out of prison that was in need of, you know, some support, probably needed to have, you know, his family around him. And you've got the cops saying, well, hang on a second. If you hang around him and you're in a gang, he's going back to jail, or you just couldn't hang around each other. And you know that you need that support when you get out. So, man, and it would have been a tough decision to make, because you've got to leave all your friends and that life behind. Man, so I feel for you. And it, you know, it makes a lot of sense to me, man. It really does.
But life now, since I've left that life behind, brother, like people would say, like it's really bad now, but just wait. I started getting good people in my life, started studying at university, started the organisation. Now my network is, you know, all good people. I spend a lot more time with my family. My family come back together after, you know, all the jail and all the shit that I put them through. So, man, it's good now. Yeah. How are you going with it all since you pulled your head in?
Man, I'm doing good. I mean, I keep myself busy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just catching up. I just got home. I was away, you know, sick. So I'm really trying to catch up, keep up. Man, today's my birthday.
Well, happy birthday, brother.
Thanks. And I got up this morning and I'm filing documents in the High Court, and I've got meetings and I'm doing stuff, and it's like, you know, all day my partner, actually, she was just like, she's taking the day off thinking we'll be cute and hang out. And I was like, I got stuff to do. Yeah. But we are going out for dinner after this. So after this, we go out for dinner, and looking forward to it, man.
Where are you going?
But yeah, mate, I'm just going to, so in Cairns, Bushfire. It's a Brazilian, I don't know if you've had like a Brazilian all you can eat, and they bring out, you know, when you go to a kebab shop and they got the meat and they carve it off, it's like that. And they just keep coming to your table and just carving off meat, man. And it's really nice. It's really cool. So I'm doing that, and I'm going to all you can eat tonight. So it sounded really bad, didn't it?
Yeah.
But
I think I've been there. Is that close to the Esplanade?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it was closed for a couple of years. I mean, I've been to I went to one in Sydney, like Circular Quay, I think it's called Brazzers, and I think they got a lot. It's the same thing, but man, they're just really cool, and I like my meat. So, you know, if someone gives me like a salad, I'm just like, hey, what is this? Yeah, man.
Oh.
So yeah, that'll be good.
Easy, brother. Well, I won't take too much more of your time. It's your birthday, going out for dinner. Much love. Thanks for coming on.
Man, thanks so much. And, man, hit me up anytime. I mean, always keen to do this again and touch base. And we're doing similar stuff. And, yeah, it's good to see, man. I really support everything that you're doing.
You too, brother. Have a good night.
All right, brother. Take it easy.
See you, mate.
See you, mate.